Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and one of the main things I do here at the Performance Lab is help people in getting faster. And so today, I thought I would go through my step-by-step process and exactly what I do when I have somebody that comes in with the main goal of trying to get faster. And hopefully, by being able to see my process, it will give you a little bit more of an understanding of what you can do in order to either get faster or get your clients faster in a very consistent manner. And so, as always, if you like the information, go ahead and like the video down below. If you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and leave that down in the description. And then if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. That would be really, really appreciative from our side. And we'll go ahead and hop in the video right now. Okay, so the first step, and really probably the most important step, and something that I think is missed a lot of times by coaches or athletes, is just going through a general movement assessment. And these movements are very simple in nature. They're different shoulder range of motion tests, spine range of motion tests. There are squats, single leg squats, different types of jumps, different types of lateral stability tests for where you have to land and just overall balance. And what this does is it gives a great understanding from a overall athlete perspective in where they're at. What is the overall capability of the athlete that you're working with? And some of the main things I'm looking for is spine range of motion, just because if the spine is lacking the necessary range that it needs in order to perform, that ends up being a big hindrance in obvious overall performance, and it will also really put the athlete at risk for having some type of injury as they're working with you. The next big thing I would say is going to be balance and making sure that that is locked in. Once an athlete's out of balance, it's going to, again, make a big impact on their ability to perform and also increase the likelihood of them getting injured. Asymmetries are another big thing. So if they're able to work really well on a right leg and then not well on the left leg, or vice versa, or if there's a certain joint that ends up not being able to work effectively, that's again going to put a big hamper on your ability to make results as fast as you can. Another thing is power production. So overall, when it comes to an athlete that's trying to sprint at a high velocity, if they don't have the necessary power production to get there, we want to be able to get a clear understanding of exactly what it is that we need to change up. The next is going to be the ability to just bend at the ankle, at the knee, at the hip, and the back, where, and many more places really, but those are going to be the main places. And where does the athlete really lean on to create a bend? Are they more of a hip hinge type of an athlete, or more of a knee bend type of an athlete? And how is that impacting their anatomy? And then how can we make changes within the programming to be able to make sure that we're leaning on their strengths, but also addressing their weaknesses? Is there any compensation that's happening from maybe one joint, maybe one leg, maybe using some part of maybe their quads or their hip flexors instead of using their glutes and hamstrings? Is there anything like that that's happening? We want to be able to identify that and address that. And then the last thing, lateral stability. Is there any type of pronation happening? Is there any type of valgus happening? How well is the athlete able to just control themselves in space? Okay, part two is going to be gait or walking mechanics. And notice here that with helping somebody get faster, in the first two parts, we haven't even had them sprint yet. So looking at the walking mechanics, there's a couple basics that we want to be able to understand. First is going to be the different phases of the actual mechanics. So there's going to be a foot strike, there's going to be a suspension phase, there's going to be a transition phase, there's going to be a shift, there's going to be a propulsion, and then there's going to be a swing. The foot strike's obviously when the foot first hits the ground, and the swing is going to be when the foot is off the ground, and then the suspension. So these four parts are when the foot is actually on the ground. They're very, very important to be able to understand what should be happening when we're looking at the gait mechanics. So how well is the person able to actually kind of transition or load onto that foot, is that suspension phase. And then in the transition phase is going to be how well can they absorb that weight and then be able to transition it from one part of the foot to the other. And then how well can they shift? Now they're going to begin to shift their weight forward, and then propulsion is going to be actually pushing off. And so just being able to see the ranges as the body is able to go from these different phases and how well the body's actually able to do that on one side compared to the other. And again, is there any different types of compensation? So that's where the timing and the ability ends up being very, very important here. And really there's going to be three key movements that we're looking for. So when and that's where the L and the R come. So when, let's say the left foot is striking, the right foot should be shifting. When the left foot is suspending, the right foot should be propulsing or pushing off. And then when the left foot is transitioning, the right foot should be in the swing phase. So, just being able to, again, make sure the timing is right here in these 3 different phases, that making sure that when this is happening, this is happening. When this is happening, this is happening. So you want to have a good balance of exactly what needs to be happening within the body in order to ensure that the correct mechanics are happening. And if there's any type of compensation here, there's any different types of issues, then being able to address that, notice that, just make sure that we have a keen sense of exactly what's going on within the athlete in order to make sure, again, that they are going to be healthy primarily. So this is really mostly injury prevention here, just because, again, for when we go with sprinters, we want to make sure that they're going to stay healthy. The worst thing that could happen is some type of hamstring injury, groin injury that just puts you out for weeks, because now it's hard to get you back. Okay, so part 3 is going to be actual sprint mechanics. So when we're looking at somebody sprinting, some of the key things that we want to make sure that the athlete is able to maintain and achieve is going to be adequate foot contact time. So typically we want to be in about 0.1 here. Turnover speed, so making sure that the legs are able to turn over pretty effectively. When we're looking at turnover speed, it wants to be somewhere between 0.3 to 0.36, depending on the height of the athlete. And so, really most people are going to be closer and closer to 0.3. When somebody gets taller, you can get closer to 0.36. But again, 0.3 is really going to be the goal for most athletes in terms of turnover speed. Hip flexion angle, how high are you able to get your knee when you're sprinting? We don't want to end up having somebody that gets their knee too low as they're going through the actual top end speed, but you also don't want to end up getting your knees too high or getting too stuck in knee flexion. So hip flexion. So making sure that's good. The ability to access ankle, knee, hip, and back extension. So how well are you able to get up onto your toes when you're going and pushing off? How well are you able to extend through the knee, especially during the start phases? That's really when it's important to be able to extend through the knee. And then hip and back is going to be most important when you're in top end speed, and how well you're able to access those hamstrings, glute, lower back muscles is going to be based off of how well you're able to extend in those areas. And really this goes a lot into the flexibility of the athlete and ability to actually achieve active ranges of motion, which is very, very important when it comes to sprinting, just because there's so much power, so much strength within sprinters that if they lack any type of flexibility or mobility, you can really see that in that top end speed and their ability to hold top end speed for a long period of time. Next thing is going to be posture. A lot of athletes just lose their ability to maintain top end speed or get to top end speed because of the loss of posture. So just being able to stick to a specific posture, and that is with the start, that's with the transition, that's with the top end speed. Most times posture really impacts people, again, with the start and the transition, but we also see people that are not able to achieve their best top end speed because of a lack of good, strong posture. Next thing is arm swing. Are you losing somewhere within the arm swing? When it gets to more advanced athletes, the arm swing doesn't seem to be as big of a thing, but there's a lot of athletes that also struggle with being able to get a very, very active arm swing that's helping them in running faster. A lot of times people will get to a certain speed and will not be able to get over that speed because of the lack of ability to maintain a great arm swing, and I can fall into that category as well in a lot of senses. So that's a super important one to address, especially because it could be something that prevents you from getting to that next level of speed that you might be looking to achieve. The last thing is going to be your breathing patterns. How well are you able to stay consistent with your breathing, and is there anything within your breathing patterns that is holding you back from a sprinting perspective? Is something that we really want to look into, really want to be able to understand. So these are the 7, as I call them, in terms of being able to understand what are the main things within sprinting mechanics that we're looking at. And I think these are going to be the most important 7 things that you got to be able to accomplish in order to run faster and achieve top speed. The last 2 here I ended up putting together because I think they're probably the most important things that you need to be able to do in order to really improve your speed. And so those go into a training program and proper nutrition or diet. For the training program, what I really put a big focus on is going to be core strength, it's going to be hamstring strength, and it's going to be lower leg strength. And if you're not able to really build yourself up in those 3 areas, it's really difficult to be able to make consistent improvements within your speed. And so making sure that you're always making specific goals and specific gains in those 3 areas is super, super important as a sprinter. So I highly, highly recommend you always working in. And the things that I would say are probably in order of the least trained is going to be lower leg strength is probably the most overlooked thing. and then core strength, and then hamstring strength. So there's a lot of people that I know that will work a lot on deadlifts and different things to be able to build the hamstrings. I still think that the Nordic hamstring curl is the best way to be able to build that strength. And then there's a lot of people, and that just goes into a lot of times building up, like, if you do deadlifts, it's going to be a lot more lower back focused. But there's going to be some hamstring strength as well. And so you want to make sure that you have the strength within your lower back, which is important, but you also want to make sure you have the strength within the obliques and within all the different parts of your abdomen in order to really maintain a high level of production from a sprinter perspective. And then we go into the lower leg strength and making sure that you're building up the anterior tibialis, you're building up all the different muscles that go through extension within the lower leg, and then also making sure that you're building up the muscles within the foot, the ranges within the foot, the big toe. Again, that's the most overlooked thing, is going to be that lower leg strength, so making sure that you address that is super important. Next big thing is going to be plyometrics, making sure that you're landing and you're doing single leg jumps and single leg bounds and power skips and different things that are going to help you in building overall force production, power production out of your lower body is going to be built through the plyometrics. Balance, that goes into control, that goes into landing, that goes into overall building of strength. You're not going to be able to achieve your maximum strength outputs if you don't have balance within your body, and so being able to achieve better and better balance is going to make it so you can become stronger as an athlete and also more powerful as an athlete. And then different sprint variations, so making sure and different sprint drills, so doing downhill sprints, uphill sprints, sleds, starts, top end speed development, and all the different things that go in between, working on specific drills that maybe be able to help you, whether it's different types of wall drills, whether it's different things that will help you in getting a better push off and making sure that you're landing correctly, whatever you need to do from a specific framework to be able to make sure that your sprinting mechanics are improving and your ability to achieve higher speeds is improving. So I'm always looking to see what are the big things I need to work on. Is it lower leg? Is it core? Is it, what part of it? Is it turnover? Is it contact time? And then I add those sprint variation or drills into my actual workouts. And then also the nutrition and the diet. Again, this is going to be a super important part, depending on who you talk to. They talk about how diet is somewhere between 70 to 90% of your overall fitness. And so the people that are able to sprint the fastest in the world are also in the best shape and have their bodies so well refined that they're able to actually produce that amount of force. And so if fitness comes from 70 to 90% of your diet and your nutrition, then obviously that's going to be a super important part in being able to achieve your best overall potential. And so making sure that you have the right protein sources. I'm always changing up where I'm getting my protein from, whether it's chicken or turkey or fish or beef and red meat. So just making sure that you're getting different types of protein sources and you're getting protein in each one of your meals, adequate amounts of fat and the correct fats, right? So avocados and nuts and the right types of butter can all be great sources of fat. And then also healthy carbs, those things that are more vegetables and fruits. You have to have a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits in order to actually get the amount of carbs that you're looking for, where if you have rice and spaghetti and things like that, you don't need very much in order to actually achieve the amount of carbs that you're looking to do. So a lot of times people will overeat the carbs because they're eating unhealthy carbs, but will undereat the amount of healthy carbs that they need in order to make specific gains within their ability to achieve maximum amounts of fitness and really have the right amount of energy in order to achieve higher amounts of fitness. Next is going to go into, and I know nutrition and diet doesn't necessarily go into this, but I still think it's super important to consider, is having specific times that you're consistently training and specific times that you're actually eating, and getting on some type of regimen for that. I think is really, really important as an athlete. You don't want to just be sometimes training at 6 a.m., sometimes training at 10, sometimes training at 10 p.m. You don't want to be too all over the place. You want to be pretty specific in how you're eating or when you're eating and when you're training, just to give your body the right time periods to be able to recover and the right time periods to be ready to actually work out. Next is going to be sleeping patterns, just making sure that you're staying consistent with when it is that you go to sleep, when it is that you wake up. That gives you, again, your body the right type of capability in being able to recover. And so if you end up, being very inconsistent with your sleeping, that will really have a big impact on your recovery, which will then make it so you don't get the most out of each one of your workouts. And then just being consistent with your rest and recovery. So, some people will take a day a week, some people will take a couple days a week, however it ends up working for you, and how hard you're pushing yourself, just making sure that you're able to get some type of recovery in there. You don't want to be always going, or else you're going to end up overtraining. So you have to have some time to be able to recover, but it's going to be different for everybody. There'll be times where I'll push myself for 2 to 3 weeks in a row, and then take a couple days off after that, or just go with one day where I'm going to just rest every week, and just making that a consistent thing. So just make sure that you're able to have some type of plan behind this. You're not going and just winging it here. We'll make sure that you're able to get the best results out of your training program and get the best results for your athletes. All right, thanks for watching the video. If you have any question or comments, go ahead and leave that down below. Or if you have any recommendations for what type of videos you'd like to see in the future, you can again leave those in the comments down below. In the description, we have a few different things that should be able to help you out if you're looking to get faster. We have some things that will help you in the breakdowns and just being able to get an analysis on your sprinting mechanics. We have an actual speed program that has training, it has nutrition, has everything that you need that will help you in being able to get to the next level within your sprinting. We also have a few different ebooks and things like that that could help you if you're just looking for a better understanding of what we do here at the Performance Lab. That's all down in the description down below. And if you want to look a little bit more in, or have any questions for me, or want to look more into the company, we have the website down below where you can contact us and also see a little bit more of what are some of the things that we offer. So as always, thanks for watching these videos, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.